Matthew Taylor.
Okay, you can go, Harmony.
Okay, wonderful. Allahu Akbar, dear friends, God is most glorious. Welcome to the Sunday morning devotional program sponsored by the Spiritual Assemblies of the Baha'is of South DeKalb County and Sandy Springs, Georgia. So wonderful to have all of you with us today. You know, across the globe, the teachings of the Baha'i faith brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder and whose name in Arabic means the glory of God. His teachings have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allows us to reflect the image God made us in, the integration of worship and service with work performed in the spirit of service, in the spirit of service actually being accounted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, and the dynamics of the relationships that strive to bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Friends, we've been having amazing programs every week, and today we're going to continue in that vein. We are pleased to have you join us again. Welcome. We'll begin with the opening devotions, followed by a video presentation today. Please silence any electronic devices. Thank you. Lee.
O my God, my Lord and my Master, I have detached myself from my kindred and have sought through thee to become independent of all that dwell on earth and ever ready to receive that which is praiseworthy in thy sight. Bestow on me such good as will make me independent of aught else but thee, and grant me an ampler share of thy boundless favors. Verily, thou art the Lord of grace abounding.
Thank you, Lee. Elaine.
O my God, O my Lord, O my Master, I beg thee to forgive me for seeking any pleasure save thy love, or any comfort except thy nearness, or any delight besides thy good pleasure, or any existence other than communion with thee. The Ball.
Thank you, Elaine. Dorothy.
I have wakened in thy shelter, O my God, and it becometh him that seeketh that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my inner being, O my Lord, with the splendors of the dayspring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Dorothy. Leo.
O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, lead them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily thou art their helper and their Lord.
Thank you, Leo. Matthew?
Thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, we are servants of thine, sheltered beneath thy providence. Cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings. O Lord, point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom, and resuscitate all of us through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. Bestow upon us life everlasting, and confer upon us never-ending honor. Unify mankind, and illumine the world of humanity. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. O God, unite us, and connect our hearts with thy indissoluble bond. Verily thou art the giver, thou art the kind one, and thou art the Almighty. Baha'i.
Thank you, Matthew. Barbara Taylor?
Consecrate thou, O my God, the whole of this tree unto him, that from it may be revealed all the fruits created by God within it for him, through whom God hath willed to reveal all he pleaseth. By thy glory, I have not wished that this tree should ever bear any branch, leaf, or fruit that would fail to bow down before him on the day of his revelation, or refuse to laud thee through him, as beseemeth the glory of his all-glorious revelation, and the sublimity of his most sublime concealment. And shouldst thou behold, O my God, any branch, leaf, or fruit upon me that hath failed to bow down before him on the day of his revelation, cut it off, O my God, from that tree, for it is not of me, nor shall it return unto me. The Bob.
Thank you, Barbara. Bill?
O thou, whom we have outwardly never met, yet whom we inwardly cherish in our hearts, be fair in thy judgment, and present thyself before him who seeth and knoweth thee, even if thou seest and knowest him not. Can any soul be found to elucidate these words with such convincing arguments, clear testimonies, and unmistakable allusions as to appease the heart of the seeker and relieve the soul of the listener? Nay, by the one in whose hand is my soul, unto none is given to quaff even a dewdrop thereof, unless he entereth within this city, a city whose foundations rest upon mountains of crimson-colored ruby, whose walls are hewn of the chrysolite of divine unity, whose gates are made of the diamonds of immortality, and whose earth sheddeth the fragrance of divine bounty. Paola.
Thank you, Bill. Sally?
The diversity in the human family should be the cause of love and harmony, as it is in music, where many different notes blend together in the making of a perfect chord. If you meet those of different race and color from yourself, do not mistrust them and withdraw yourself unto your shell of conventionality, but rather be glad and show them kindness. Think of them as different colored roses growing in the beautiful garden of humanity, and rejoice to be among them.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you to all of our leaders. Oh, Lee.
Allah has written, verily, the words which have descended from the heaven of the will of God are the source of unity and harmony for the world. Close your eyes to racial differences and welcome all with the light of oneness.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everyone. Friends, now it's time for the healing prayer. And if anyone wishes to remember a loved one through the prayer for healing, please feel free to call out their name at this time.
Lorentha Umtouch.
Angelo Mathis.
Jackie Barnes.
Sam Wiley.
Josie Reynolds.
Mohammed Lorasabi.
Hasmin.
Firuz Farudi.
Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Baha'u'llah. And now we're blessed to have the presentation video of 2017's National Youth Poet Laureate, Ms. Amanda Gorman, The Hill We Climb.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the wind-swept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Ms. Amanda Gorman. Powerful, insightful, compelling, and not soon to be forgotten. Beautiful. Okay, friends, each week we are blessed to have a guest presenter to come and share with us their insights on a particular topic. This week we're honored to have Leo Duque. Mr. Duque, as I did not receive a bio from you, would you care to share a little bit about yourself and what you would have the community learn about you?
Thank you, Hermione.
Come
I
on.
just want to tell you that when I was 23 years old, I learned about the Baha'i faith. And one of the principles that attracted me the most, perhaps the one that most attracted me, is the harmony between science and religion. So I have been studying a lot about this subject, and I will base my presentation on that.
Okay, well,
And
oh,
let me say one more thing.
okay, sure.
I had the privilege to be invited by Dr. Abab to work with him in Fundaek very early on, the year after I became Baha'i. So being close to him, serving with him, and learning from him was a blessing for my whole life.
Yes, I can imagine such a precious opportunity there. Wonderful, you were blessed. Well, friends, we are pleased to have him share with us this morning on the following topic. Is it time for men to consider, accept, and encourage women's superiority?
Go, Leo.
So, friends, please welcome.
Okay.
I'm sure it promises to be a very interesting and inspired talk. Leo Duque.
Can you please share the screen with me?
Oh, you share the screen. Do you know at the bottom of your screen?
Yes, I know. Okay.
So you share your screen. Make sure that your whatever it is you want to share is already open.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. So this is a prerequisite to reach peace in the world, but also a requisite food security for all and jobs for all. So I want to talk about that, and let me do something here. I have to accommodate. Oh, these are lines of inquiry for the whole community. Yeah. If we read this quote, let's read it in this understanding. I believe every human being, because of this quote, has the capacity to become a scientist or to understand science and religion welded and fused in reality. Let's read it. Lee, can you read it? Little Rasby?
Religion must stand the analysis of reason. It must agree with scientific fact and proof, so that science will sanction religion and religion fortify science. Both are indissolubly welded and joined in reality. If statements and teachings of religion are found to be unreasonable and contrary to science, they are outcomes of superstition and imagination. Abdu'l-Baha.
So is it clear that if both are welded and joined in reality, any human being has the capacity to understand it? Okay. In Afghanistan, only 37% of female youth and 19% of adult women are literate, compared to 66% of male youth and 49% of adult men. I am Malala, she says, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban, a 45,000 strong force. Abdul Baha says, the woman has a greater moral courage than men. She has also special gifts, which enable her to govern in moments of danger and crisis. Transparency International says, let me move. Okay. There is a growing consensus and a large body of evidence from many regions of the world that countries with more women involved in government or parliament are less prone to corruption. For example, a study in the early 2000s by the World Bank of 150 countries in Europe, Africa, and Asia suggested that women are more trusty and less prone to corruption, a finding later corroborated by additional research. So this is one of the gifts that I think, I don't know, you perhaps heard about Paulo Freire. Paulo Freire used to teach how to read in the context of the problematic of the region. In India, in this part of India, in Andhra Pradesh, he told women how to read and write in the context of a very difficult situation. They used to prepare the lunchbox for their husbands to go to work every day. But on Friday, they received a drunk. And of course, this was due to a situation of alcohol consumption. The politicians and the owners of a new alcohol made out of rice had encouraged people to keep drinking because the taxes for the government increased a lot because they were receiving more money. So that was the reason why they wanted to cahoots with the producers of this alcohol and the merchants of this alcohol. So they decided to boycott all the stores that were selling alcohol to their husbands. They just didn't go to those stores to buy anything. So, and that changed the whole situation for the whole region. It became law that alcohol was prohibited, as Mahatma Gandhi used to do. Taken in general, women today have a stronger sense of religion than men. In the United States, for example, women are more likely than men to say religion is very important in their lives. 60 to versus 47%. Noting similar gender differences in other countries, mainly in Europe, some social scientists have argued that women are universally more religious than men across all societies, cultures, and faiths.
Mm.
Women drink much less alcohol than males. More men drink alcohol than women. Globally, 54% of men and 32% of women report being current drivers in 2016. I believe that women and adolescents can lead the path to less suffering by educating the new generations. They have the moral authority. Alcohol depresses our sense of shame. 37% of rapes and sexual assaults will involve offenders under the influence, and that number jumps to 90% when the abuse occurs on colleges and campuses. 40% of child abuse incidents will be connected to alcohol use or abuse, and 70% of the abusive individuals, parents or guardians, will suffer from the substance use disorders. Domestic violence, also the same thing. 65% of intimate partner violence incidents would be carried out by perpetrators who have been drinking. In the US, it's 450,000 such incidents annually.
Mm.
Can somebody read this quote? Lee, can you do it? Or Elaine,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
Matthew?
A global study, Crime and Gender, a study on how men and women are represented in international crime statistics by Markku Heiskanen and Annie Lietonen. Sorry about the pronunciation. Says the rate of male suspects offenders was higher than the rate of female suspects in all regions. On average, 84% of the suspects were male.
This is a huge fact.
Mm.
Nomads in Ladakh, India, and traditional African nomads, males, were hunters and in charge of herding. It is believed that women harvest wild fruits and beans and left the seeds in the settlements where the nomad group stayed. When they came back to the same place, they discovered that they were growing. So it is a fact acknowledged by many, but also other questions is that women discovered agriculture, a topic that I will be talking about later on. Can somebody read this one?
In a document titled A Female Revolution, How Necessity May Have Been the Mother of Agricultural Invention. In hunter-gathering societies, it was generally women who gathered seeds and picked fruits, while men went out to hunt game. In the face of starvation, Natufian,
Yeah.
women are thought to have selected the best seeds they could find, the biggest, sweetest, and most easy to harvest, which they then sowed on specially prepared land as a crop for the following year.
In the Andes, they cook in the thermal waters that are coming from the volcanic source underneath the earth. So they cook like this. This is the stove. Look at these guys. They are hunting. This is a hieroglyphic, very, very old. So women stay at home taking care of the kids and the house and everything, and the tents. Abdul Baha stated, the woman is indeed of the greater importance to the race. She has the greater burden and the greater work. Those images talk by themselves. Forget about emotional labor. Women living 7,000 years ago had to deal with another lopsided workload, farming. Prehistoric women shouldered a major share of the wooing, digging, and hauling in early agricultural societies, according to a new study. Now, by analyzing the bones of these women, scientists have shown that the upper body strength surpasses even today's elite female athletes. The findings refute a popularity held notions that early agrarian women should manual labor in favor of domestic work. And they suggest that then, as now, a woman's work was never done. Can somebody read this quote? Matthew?
It's not there, I guess. You asked Matthew to read it. It must not be there.
To be wiser, men should subordinate their decisions to the following of reference. Quote, as regards the constitution of the House of Justice, Baha'u'llah addressed the men. He says, O ye men of the House of Justice, but when its members are to be elected, the right which belongs to women, so far as their voting and their voice is concerned, is indisputable. When the women attain to the ultimate degree of progress, then according to the exigency of the time and place and their great capacity, they shall obtain extraordinary privileges. Be ye confident on these accounts. His Holiness Baha'u'llah has greatly strengthened the cause of women, and the rights and privileges of women is one of the greatest principles of Abdul Baha.
These are the three qualities that are superior in females than males. Can you please read it?
Huh? I don't know. Read it.
I will read it.
Please do.
Rest ye assured, ere long the days shall come when the men addressing the women shall say, blessed are ye, blessed are ye. Verily ye are worthy of every gift. Verily ye deserve to adorn your heads with the crown of everlasting glory. Because in sciences and arts, in virtues and perfections, ye shall become equal to man. And as regards tenderness of heart and the abundance of mercy and sympathy, ye are superior. Abdul Baha in Paris Talks.
These three qualities, tenderness of heart, abundance of mercy, and sympathy, for me, I understand they are related to governance. capacity to make wise choices and govern. I have expressed in my books, in the books that I have published, that women should participate in greater numbers in the management of human affairs at the local, national, and international level, but the Universal House of Justice. I was reading a quote from the Universal House of Justice explaining this principle. And they say that even there will be a tribunal, an international tribunal, and women can participate in that, of course. So the only exception is just the House of Justice. And there is a wisdom in it. We have to understand it further. The day is coming when women will claim her superiority to men. Why boys? Participating in the Junior Youth Group Spiritual Empowerment Program should learn to listen to girls? I think in those three qualities that I just mentioned, tenderness of heart, mercy, and empathy or compassion, when we listen carefully to women paying attention to, in the process of consultation or just in a conversation, when they express their opinion about the situation of a little boy or girl who is sick, of an ecosystem, yes, or hunger in the world or whatever issue, and they express those emotions, those feelings of sympathy, mercy, tenderness of heart, they are telling us the true dimension that they perceive of the situation. And if we learn to do that, we will make wiser choices together. Let me now introduce you to the root causes of another problem, to further our unity of thought and vision, and the suggested role of women in it. This is the root cause, the root of a grass. It's 3 meters deep, and it's stronger or as strong as an oak branch. It's very interesting potential to support the talud is in Spanish, I don't know the word, these hills, instead of concrete barriers, just to plant this grass. In the Bible it says, can somebody read this quote, please? Lee or anybody.
And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Baha'u'llah ratifies this prophecy. I need somebody to read this quote. My English is not as good as you guys.
Whilst in the prison of Akka, we revealed in the Crimson Book that which is conducive to the advancement of mankind and to the reconstruction of the world. The utterances set forth therein by the pen of the Lord of creation include the following, which constitute the fundamental principles for the administration of the affairs of men. First, it is incumbent upon the ministers of the house of justice to promote the lesser peace, so that the people of the earth may be relieved from the burden of exorbitant expenditures. This matter is imperative and absolutely essential, inasmuch as hostilities and conflict lie at the root of affliction and calamity. Second, languages must be reduced to one common language to be taught in all the schools of the world. Third, it behoveth man to adhere tenaciously unto that which will promote fellowship, kindliness, and unity. Fourth, everyone, whether man or woman, should hand over to a trusted person a portion of what he or she earneth through trade, agriculture, or other occupation, for the training and education of children, to be spent for this purpose with the knowledge of the trustees of the House of Justice. Fifth, special regard must be paid to agriculture, Although it hath been mentioned in the fifth place, unquestionably it precedeth the others. Agriculture is highly developed in foreign lands. However, in Persia it hath so far been grievously neglected. It is hoped that His Majesty the Shah, may God assist him by his grace, will turn his attention to this vital and important matter.
So, peace, mentioned in the first, the promotion of the lesser peace, must be preceded by agriculture. Languages, reduced to one common language also. The promotion of fellowship, kindliness, and unity must be preceded by agriculture. The capacity of people to pay for the education of their kids, of their children, must be preceded by agriculture. If we hope that someday people will be able to pay for the books for the children, the books for the junior youth groups, and receive a proper scientific education from the Baha'i perspective, we need to work in agriculture first. Matthew, can you read this quote again too?
Sure. In a statement, Shoghi Effendi mentions that Baha'u'llah aims to reconcile conflicting creeds. His mission is to proclaim that the ages of the infancy and of the childhood of the human race are past, that the convulsions associated with the present stage of its adolescence are slowly and painfully preparing it to attain the stage of manhood, and are heralding the approach of the ages of that age of ages, when swords will be beaten into plowshares, when the kingdom promised by Jesus Christ will have been established, and the peace of the planet definitely and permanently ensured.
Okay. So this quote inspired me to look deeper into agriculture. And this is the possibility to get jobs for everyone. I will introduce this theme with this quote. First and foremost is the principle that To all the members of the body politic shall be given the greatest achievements of the world of humanity. Each shall have the utmost welfare and well-being. To solve this problem, we must begin with the farmer. There, we will lay a foundation for system and order. Because the peasant class and the agricultural class exceed other classes in the importance of their service. In every village, there must be established a general storehouse, which will have a number of revenues. So let's focus on the foundation of system. Later on, I will talk about the foundation of order. This is a discovery of graphene from soybean oil. Graphene is a form of carbon that exists as a sheet 1 atom thick. It is more than 200 times stronger than steel and conducts electricity better than copper. About 1% of graphene mixed into plastics could turn them into electrical conductors. This is the potential of biodiversity.
Wow.
Yokohama introduced a tire called the DB Super E-Spec, which offered a 20% reduction in rolling resistance without the usual corresponding drop in traction. The key, new technology using oil derived from orange peels to display some of the petroleum that is typically used in tires. In average, they run 17,000 miles more than a conventional touring tire. Other potentialities. Treat disease fears first of all through diet and refrain from medicine. If you can find what you need for healing in a single herb, do not use a compound medicine. Leave off medicine when the health is good and use it in case of necessity. This is very interesting. This is a girl from Taiwan. She discovered a styrofoam eating bacterium. A boy discovers microbe that eats plastic. PhDs have been searching for a solution to the plastic waste. And this 16-year-old finds the answer. So I believe the youth of the world being empowered with the methods of science can address whatever problem we have. A lady, there is a moth that goes into the beehives and consumes the wax. She took 100 wax moth larvae to a common plastic bag from a British supermarket and waited to see what happened. After only 40 minutes, the first holes appeared in the bag. After 12 hours, the larva had eaten 92 milligrams of the plastic. Bertoncini suggests that the wax moth possesses a specific enzyme which is able to break up chemical bonds that occur both in the bee wax and polyethylene molecules. So receiving agriculture at the foundation of system and looking at to the system and to the labor system, we perceive that there is a lot of potential in the biodiversity of the world. Abdu'l-Baha said, the more microscopic animals exist in the soil, the better the plants will grow. There is a research done comparing the soils of California, the Great Valley, which they are sterile, no microorganisms in there. After applying for 70 years insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, and putting very heavy mixture on top of them. They compare those soils to soils in different areas rich in microorganisms. 500% more productivity in grasslands. So this is the potential of biodiversity. 300,000 secondary metabolites estimated to exist in the plants, in the plant kingdom. The possible combinations of them also have different potentialities. There is a big discussion among biologists that there is between 600 and 6 million species of fungi. Almost 1 million species of insects. If you talk to somebody about beneficial insects, besides bees, they don't mention too many. If you go to a Congress of Entomology, they talk about a few scores of beneficial insects. We just don't know the function of the rest. Look at this fact from the New York Times. Earth may be home to 1 trillion species of microbes, according to a new estimate. And 99.999% of them have yet to be discovered. 500 species of bacteria in our guts. And we have a greater number of bacteria in our body than human cells. 8% of our DNA is of viral origin. So now let's talk about agriculture as the foundation of order. This is the reason why people migrate. I believe that respect of the institutions depends in food security for all, protection of farmers, and the environment. In a book that I published in 1999, I sadly concluded that around 1.2 billion people deprived of their significant portion of their were deprived of a significant portion of their potential intellectual capacities because of lack of protein of their mothers during pregnancy. When I presented my facts to a Baha'i working, I believe it's the guy who knows most about beans. Beans is the main source of protein for humankind today. And I told Steve, I believe I'm crazy. Look what I got. And he told me, Leo, I'm going to a seminar about nutrition in the Philippines. And he brought the facts from Joseph and Martoro. 1.6 billion people affected in their intellectual capacity by lack of iron, and 2.1 billion people by lack of iodine. in the diets. That's a lot of human beings. That's 1/3 of the human race. But it's surprising what I found also in some scientific literature. People, women, if they, in their first pregnancy, if she doesn't receive enough food to feed the fetus in her womb, she will metabolize her own tissues and give them to the new creature. But if she lives in a belt of misery, in Calcutta, New Delhi, Bogota, Mexico City, she won't have anything else to give to the second baby. National Geographic says 2.9 trillion pounds of food. That is about 1/3 of the planet's wasted, enough to feed 2 billion people. Let's look at the climate change and this fact. The average farm to plate travel distance of the American meal, 1,500 miles. The head of lettuce, 2,000 miles. Abdul Baha says, the fundamental basis of the community is agriculture, tillage of the soil. All must be producers. Does it sound as the fundamental basis for the core activities? I believe so.
Community gardens.
I think we should put agriculture, community gardens, school gardens. Let's talk at feast about diets, about new remedies coming from herbs. Let's talk about becoming a vegan, a vegetarian, whatever issue related to agriculture. I have suggested to the National Spiritual Assembly the following scientific inquiry. How can the core activities, children classes, junior youth groups, the sequence of courses, devotional meetings, and reflection gatherings help alleviate the plight of farmers, especially that of the small ones, and their link to the environmental crisis in the United States of America? But there is a warning from Abdul Wahab. Without women involvement, it's not possible to fix it. While Leo is asking if it is time for men to consider, accept, and encourage women's superiority, you all know this quote: be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age you live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. Then what is the need that is so important? This is the distribution of the aggregated value in the food chain in Colombia, Cauca. The farmer plants corn and he receives 15% of the aggregated value. In pineapple, the merchant keeps 60%, the farmer receives 60% of the aggregated value. Who runs with most of the risk? Who manages more complexity? Who works harder? Who works harder? The farmer. This is very interesting. Bloomberg News, before interviewing Roberto Vélez Vallejo, CEO of Colombia's National Federation of Coffee Growers, says that a cup of coffee at Starbucks costs $3.50. This week, on Tuesday, I paid $4.23 in a Starbucks for a coffee, very far away from my home. And the Colombian coffee growers, but also in Nigeria, Costa Rica, everywhere, they receive 3 cents. Farmers are receiving less than 1%. This is the map of Africa. 70 countries in the world depend on coffee for their economy. Can somebody read this quote, please?
Before they do, we have about 5 more minutes.
Yes, we're being done in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can you read?
Rural women constitute 50% of the agricultural labor force in Africa. They are responsible for 80% of the food production and 50% of the agricultural output. Women reinvest almost 90% of their income in their children and household. Since women are the keys to improving household food security and nutritional well-being, increasing women's access to financial resources ultimately leads to increased investment in human capital.
Look at the Universal House of Justice to the Baha'is in Iran addressing this situation. She says, the deepening environmental crisis driven by a system that condones the pillage of natural resources to satisfy an insatiable thirst for more. This pillage, what is going on? That's the right description of what is happening in the world. Lee, can you read the quote? I think this is.
What did it say, Bill? Can you read the quote?
The deepening environmental crisis driven by a system that condones the pillage of natural resources to satisfy an insatiable thirst for more suggests how entirely inadequate is the present conception of humanity's relationship with nature. The deterioration of the home environment, with the accompanying rise in the systematic exploitation of women and children worldwide, makes clear how pervasive are the misbegotten notions that define relations within the family unit. Persistence of despotism on the one hand, and the increasing disregard for authority on the other, reveal how unsatisfactory to a maturing humanity is the current relationship between the individual and the institutions of society. The concentration of material wealth in the hands of a minority of the world's population gives an indication of how fundamentally ill-conceived are relationships among the many sectors of what is now an emerging global community.
Well, if we go back to the quote, that should be their swords into plowshares and their spear into pruning hooks, Let's see. Abdul-Baha says the solution to the economic problem is one of the fundamental principles of His Holiness Baha'u'llah, but it must be solved with justice and not with force. If this problem is not solved lovingly, it will result in war. So, in the Promise of World Peace in 1985, this is the last slide. Can somebody read this quote?
The emancipation of women, the achievement of full equality between the sexes, is one of the most important, though less acknowledged, prerequisites of peace. The denial of such equality perpetrates an injustice against one half of the world's population and promotes in men harmful attitudes and habits that are carried from the family to the workplace, to political life, and ultimately to international relations. There are no grounds, moral, practical, or biological, upon which such denial can be justified. Only as women are welcomed into full partnership in all fields of human endeavor will the moral and psychological climate be created in which international peace can emerge.
So I believe that in this deliberation, in this conversation with the farmers, between governmental institutions, the merchant, and the agri-industry, women should be at least an equal amount, or preferable for me, will be majority to help us reach peace in the world, food for all, and jobs.
Thank you, Leonardo. That was very illuminating. Some of the things that you stated, some of those things we know, many of those things you stated, we've never heard before, many of them. And you were saying countries with more women involved in government are less prone to corruption. I like how the women in Andhra Pradesh boycotted all those stores that sold alcohol to the men, put the brakes on for everybody. And that women are superior in terms of governance, where there's tenderness of heart, abundance of mercy, and sympathy. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. What we can do right now is, if anybody has any questions or comments for Leo, please feel free to ask them now. If anything struck you or that you wanted to find out a little bit more about, things that he had mentioned.
Hello, Lee, go ahead, please.
I was curious, with all of the kind of industrial farm mega complexes that you see, all of these huge corporations that are doing farming now, how do we turn that around?
Well, I mean, we have to convince them first that agriculture is not viable. They leave the soil discovered for quite a long time. I mean, they will plow the soil in the spring, in the fall, and it will be uncovered until the spring. And that all the carbon that is in there is being heated by the sun. All the microbes will die, or many will die, and that pollutes the earth. The main storage of carbon sequestration is the soil. But if we leave it uncovered, it's a big problem. Also, big, huge machinery. I saw a harvester, 53,000 pounds, compacting the soil and killing everything in there. They cannot move. With 53,000 pounds on top of a microbe, they cannot move. So, I mean, that kind of agriculture is So on the other hand, organic agriculture is emerging very strongly. Yes. Go ahead, Joanne.
I've read so much about climate change and the fact that so many of these countries are going through either too much rain or not enough rain and droughts. But we're building these buildings that we can farm in the buildings, like big warehouses that you can build going up, like an apartment house with different things. And I'm wondering who's going to be the head of that? Who's going to promote that in these countries? Because I could see if a few of these are built in countries that are so lacking in their food, we could feed a whole lot more people quickly and more efficiently than farming in the ground.
Yes. Joanne, local assembly of Central DeKalb has started discussing about the dream neighborhood. So we have to start thinking, or we let others build our future, or we are going to have a hand on it. What is the role of local assembly thinking about all these refugees in Central DeKalb? Just keep paying rent for the rest of their lives? Or are we going to build a more harmonious neighborhoods with nature?
Right. And women could very easily handle something that was built inside like that. Be able to take care of children. Part of that building could be a child care center and combine the needs of women to do child care and to work at the same time and make a living.
Of course, of course. There is a study here in Georgia that food produced in the neighborhood or in close by sites generates 11 employments, and food bring it from 1,500 miles away just generates 3 employments. So we can change those those figures.
Individuals living in their homes could tear up their front lawns and have wonderful gardens. I know they did that during World War II. But I live in a subdivision that would never approve of that.
Yes, we have to build new ones or change the rules of those ones. Okay.
It was a fascinating speech, and it gave me some new ideas on how to promote the equality of men and women.
Thank you to you all.
Anyone else?
Leo, it would be very nice if we could put our hands on at least an outline of all the things you talked about this morning. Do you have a little publication that you could create, or do you have one that you could send out to us?
I can send you this PowerPoint presentation, and I can send all of you my book.
What's the title of the book, Leo?
It is The New Approach to Science.
I think that was in the bookstore.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But I can send to all of you for free.
I'll pay.
No, I will send an EPUB, a computer. You can use it in your computer. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. I'll be in touch with you.
But I need somebody to collect the emails of all of you so I can send it to you guys.
Okay.
Would you put the name of his book in the chat so we can write that down since I'm in a different state?
Okay, I will do that.
Also, you all could leave your own email addresses in the chat. You can send them privately if you don't want them publicly exposed, or you can just put them to everybody, but privately to Leonardo, to Leo.
Okay.
Publicly, you could just to everyone.
Yes. Just give me the, I will send both this PowerPoint presentation and my book, and you don't have to pay anything. Yeah, just in my service to you guys.
Leo, we look forward to having you come back again and present again.
Okay. Right now I'm working with the Baha'i Institute of Higher Education for the Baha'is in Iran. And I'm going to be very busy working for them because it's the first doctoral program on public health. And they want me to work with them, building up the curriculum. So as part of a team. So, but I will be willing to do what I can to serve you again.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you. Thank you.
Leo.
Very, very good presentation. That atomic level chemical, whatever it is, that all of this supra strength and durability and all of these mega characteristics. What was the name of that again?
The name of my book?
No, the thing that's one atom wide.
Oh, graphene.
Okay.
Graphene. Yeah.
Now I have to look.
Do I have the everybody's email is here? I have Lee, I have Joanne, I have Max, Elaine, who else? Hermione, I need yours.
I'm putting it in there.
Bibi Gordon, I need hers.
I would like to have it as well, but I don't know how to put it into, I don't know how to get.
What
the
is
chat.
it? What is it, Barbara?
Go into the chat.
What is it, Barbara?
My email,
Uh-huh.
Barbara G. Taylor @gmail.
And I need Max and Dorothy.
Yeah, but how do you get it in?
Well, just ask Barbara to put it in there or 1844 Wiley @gmail.com. And I don't think.
See yours. That's your participant name.
Yeah. I was just about to say, Sally and Bill, he can see you guys' email, 1844wiley@gmail.com. Is that it?
Yeah.
You can see it? Okay.
Yeah.
How
Already.
do I send the email? In the chat. I've got it in the chat.
Okay.
This is Dorothy. So how do you send?
What was your situation?
I was just trying to figure out how to send the email, my email address. What do I click on?
On chat.
Okay, I've got it in the chat.
Uh-huh.
That's what he's getting it from, the chat.
I'm writing
Is it
there.
already there?
Huh?
Is your email address already in the chat?
Yes, yes.
We don't see it.
No, it's not in there.
What is your email address?
There's two. Wow, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how to like send it.
Okay, so either we can type it in for you or.
Okay, would you?
Sure, what is it?
Okay, it's Steeled, STEELED 726 @gmail.com.
EELED 76.
We're not going to get back.
726, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Harmian, can you put mine,
What
please?
is it? What is it?
Beautifulbaha'i@yahoo.com.
baby.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're all looking forward to receiving that. It was a lot of information, and fairly easy to follow, but it's wonderful to be able to go and look and really, absorb some of those concepts, principles, facts, and figures. So thank you so much, Leo.
Thank you to you.
Before we close, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
May God bless you for all your services to his cause.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're all blessed, that's for sure. Okay, friends, just a couple of quick announcements, a little different from what we usually say, because the next, our upcoming speakers are going to be announced on a monthly basis. And so, so just watch for the details for that coming soon. We don't have names for you at this time, but they will be forthcoming fairly soon. Also, update on the food distribution program. That's usually on Thursday mornings from Thursdays from 10 to 1 at the center. It's the program is being put on hold temporarily until after the end of February, like maybe the first Thursday in March, for various reasons. But let you know that, especially if you know of somebody that might be going over each Thursday, it's going to be temporarily shuttered until March. Also, for members of the Baha'i faith, you're warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund and then the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system. Barbara, what is how do you contribute locally without the OCS?
It's usually dropped off at the center, or given
through the mailbox.
Yes, a mail to the center.
Mail. Oh, you mean mailed to the center? Okay. I'm assuming everyone has that address. Okay, well, we would like to say many thanks to everybody who worked together to make today's program possible. Our speaker, volunteer readers, Barbara, who kept us moving forward, the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of South DeKalb. And thank you to all of you for sharing your day with us. I'm Hermione. It's been a pleasure.
Sandy Springs.
And Sandy Springs.
The partner in Sandy Springs.
Yes. Until next time, please stay safe and well. We will end with the closing prayer for the departed. And if you could all mute yourselves, that would be wonderful. Oh my God, verily thy servant, humble before the majesty of thy divine supremacy, lowly at the door of thy oneness, hath believed in thee and in thy verses, hath testified to thy word, hath been enkindled with the fire of thy love, hath been immersed in the depths of the ocean of thy knowledge, hath been attracted by thy breezes, hath relied upon his supplications to thee, and hath been assured of thy pardon and forgiveness. He hath abandoned this mortal life and hath flown to the kingdom of immortality, yearning for the favor of meeting thee. O Lord, glorify his station, shelter him under the pavilion of thy supreme mercy, cause him to enter thy glorious paradise and perpetuate his existence in thine exalted rose garden, that he may plunge into the sea of light in the world of mysteries. Verily, thou art the generous, the powerful, the forgiver, and the bestower. Thank you, friends. Till next time. Allah.
Allah